Hey guys, Brad Danger here, and somehow one of the wildest American performance car stories in years turned into a full-blown fanboy war. Because Ford built a front-engine Mustang that weighs as much as a small moon, costs exotic money, and still threw down a Nürburgring lap time that put the entire world on notice. Recently, the Mustang GTD ran a 641 unofficially, 815 horsepower, over 200 miles per. That is not fake fast. That is not internet fast. That is full-on engineering department has lost its mind fast. And the absolute second that happened, well, half the internet went, yeah, but the Corvette ZR1 is still faster. And honestly, they're probably right. But that doesn't make the GTD any less insane. It makes this whole situation even crazier because now we're living in a reality where one American company built a heavy front-engine, transaxle, active aero science experiment Mustang that can run with Europe's best, while the other built a mid-engine, 1,000-horsepower Corvette that already had an official 650-763 Nürburgring lap, and then casually dropped the ZR1X that went even quicker at 649-275. So the real story is not which one is faster, it's why people think one result has to invalidate the other. And guys, I know this is not a GTD, but you can win my Shelby GT350 plus bonus cash by hitting the link in the first comment, and I'll give you 2,000 bonus entries on anything you purchase. And this is where things get kind of stupid, because if you actually step back for 2 seconds, both of these cars, they are ridiculous. The GTD is the first American production sports car to break the 7-minute barrier at the Nürburgring. Then Ford went back and made it even faster. That matters. The ring is still one of the places where you cannot fake it. Power alone, it's not going to save you. Straight line speed won't save you either. You need the full package: aero, braking, cooling, grip, confidence, literally everything. Ford, well, they built that. And here's where the Corvette people start smiling, because Chevrolet is already faster. Officially, ZR1 is at 650-763 and the ZR1X is 649-275. That's not a theory, that's not a what if, that's on the board. So if we're talking pure Nürburgring bragging rights, right now, Corvette, well, they're ahead. End of story. But then, well, the internet did what the internet always does and made it kind of messy. The driver debate. I mean, Ford used Dirk Mueller, legit pro, serious Nürburgring experience, and that matters. Chevy used internal vehicle dynamics engineers, and people immediately jumped to, well, if Chevy actually used a real pro, the Ford would be cooked. And, well, here is the thing. That argument, it's not wrong, but it's also not that simple, because those engineers, quote unquote, are not some random dude from accounting who wandered onto the track. They are the same people who developed the actual car. They know it inside and out. They know the track. They put in serious seat time. Chevrolet leaned into that. That was the flex. That's their own team. Their own team went to Germany and dropped a hero lap. That just tells you how dialed that car is. At the same time, acting like there's no difference between a very skilled engineer and a top Nürburgring specialist is also nonsense. There definitely is. Of course there is. I mean, chasing lap times at that level is its own skill. So no, the conditions weren't exactly the same, which is exactly why comparing these like they're perfectly equal is where the whole thing falls apart. And honestly, the cleanest take, it's really simple. The GTD deserves respect for what it did officially. The ZR1 is already faster on paper, and it probably still has more in it. All of those things can be true at the same time. I mean, look at the actual numbers. The Corvette ZR1 is pushing 1,064 horsepower and over 800 pound-feet of twist. It's also lighter, not perfectly apples to apples depending on how you measure it, but lighter enough that it matters everywhere, especially at the ring. The GTD makes 815 horsepower and weighs a lot more. That's just reality. And when you take Nürburgring drama out of it and look at controlled comparisons, the story stays consistent. At Autobahn Country Club, same driver, same day, the ZR1 was nearly 3 seconds faster. At Sonoma, same deal, almost 4 seconds faster. Different tracks, same pattern. The Corvette keeps coming out ahead. That doesn't make the GTD fake, it makes the ZR1 an absolute monster. And this is where the whole conversation gets interesting, because people aren't just arguing lap times, they're arguing what they think a fast car should be. The GTD breaks people's brains. Front engine, heavy, Mustang badge, but then it shows up with insane suspension, active aero, and race car level engineering, and starts running with cars it has no business being near. For some people, well, that's awesome. For other people, well, it's just kind of annoying. because it doesn't fit the mental picture of a track weapon. The Corvette, well, it absolutely does. Mid-engine, exotic proportion, massive power, looks like a supercar. I mean, depending on who you ask. When it's fast, it confirms everything that people already believe. The GTD, it just challenges all of that. And when something challenges expectations, people, well, they get kind of weird about it. They start arguing price, philosophy. It's not pure, it's cheating, whatever. Speaking of price, yeah, that matters too. The GTD starts around $328,000. That is a wild number for anything with a Mustang badge. The ZR1, it starts around $185,000. That gap is massive. So if you're scoring this like a buyer, Corvette hits Ford like a truck. More power, faster lap, lower price. That's tough to argue against. But here's where people flatten the story way too much. The GTD was never meant to win on value. That was not its mission. Ford didn't wake up and say, let's build the best lap time per dollar car. They built a halo. They built a statement, a road-going version of their racing mindset wrapped in something that still says Mustang on the front. They wanted people to say, wait, a Mustang did what? And by that standard, they already won. It's sold out. People are applying just to get one. No one buying a GTD is cross-shopping spreadsheets. They're buying the story, the rarity, the absurdity, the idea of owning the most extreme Mustang ever built. So, if you judge it purely by Corvette logic, you miss the whole point. And if you judge the Corvette only by Nürburgring tribalism, well, you miss that too. Because lap times, well, they're huge, but it's not everything. What a car means matters. How it feels matters. How it looks parked matters. Nobody remembers cars only as numbers. If that were true, no one would care about the manual GT3. No one would obsess over a Carrera GT. Car culture has never been that simple. And that's why this whole argument is actually kind of hilarious, because both sides are accidentally proving the same thing. Ford people say the GTD is more than a lap time. Chevy people say the ZR1 is objectively faster. Cool. Both of those cars can exist at the same time. And honestly, that's what makes this moment so good. Ford built a completely unhinged Halo Mustang that forced the world to take it seriously on the hardest track on the planet. Chevrolet built a Corvette that, when you strip away all the noise, might just be one of the most capable performance cars ever made. One is an engineering flex, the other is a performance sledgehammer. You don't have to pick a side and burn the other one down. If you want the cleanest possible take, here it is. The Mustang GTD is an incredible achievement. The Corvette ZR1, well, it's already faster. And based on everything that we've seen, power, weight, real-world comparisons, it's probably the quicker car in a true head-to-head. Not by some massive gap, not in every situation, and that's not disrespect to the GTD. That's the compliment, because the fact that a car like that is even in the conversation is insane. It shouldn't work this well, but it does. It rewrote what people think of a front-engine car and what it can do. Meanwhile, the ZR1 reminds everyone that raw pace still matters. No arguments, no narratives, no excuses, just speed. 1,000 plus horsepower, over 230 miles per, and a Nürburgring lap time to back it all up. That deserves so much respect. So, the real takeaway, it's simple. Stop trying to use one number to erase an entire car. The ring matters a lot, but it's not the whole story. Narrative matters, desirability matters, legacy matters, and if we're being real, the only reason the whole thing blew up is because both of these cars matter. Nobody argues like this over something boring. The GTD matters because it's an outrageous outlier. The ZR1 matters because it's an absolute performance weapon. And for enthusiasts, well, that's the win. Not tearing down one to protect the other, not pretending Ford's achievement doesn't count, not pretending Chevy needs an asterisk. I mean, not even pretending the Nürburgring is the only thing that defines a car. And definitely not acting like a $300,000 Mustang and a $180,000 1,000 horsepower Corvette existing at the same time is somehow a bad thing. This is the very good era. American performance cars stopped asking for permission, and whether you pick the GTD or the ZR1, that's a win either way. And remember to get entered to win your dream car, this Shelby GT350, by clicking that link in the pinned first comment, and I'll throw in 2,000 bonus entries with any purchase on the site. Like, subscribe, let me know in the comments down below, GTD or ZR1. Also check out some of these Ideal vids over here. I'm Brad Danger, this is Ideal, and promise me one thing, keep living the Ideal lifestyle.